they had from NXT Season 3. WWE put her heel turn and the chance of her being Divas Champion earlier than when she won the title a couple of months ago. We wait a couple of months to see anything from Kaitlyn. She was brought on SmackDown in a program with Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler when she was involved in some kind of a smitten relationship with Dolph Ziggler, when Dolph Ziggler was in a relationship with Vicky Guerrero, posing a threat to that. And after a few weeks of seeing her on SmackDown, after she was distributed as the winner of NXT Season 3, she kind of gets put on the back burner. We see nothing creative from Kaitlyn. They try to push her as a heel. They kind of attempt it. They fail desperately at it. And now months after having her on the back burner, Kaitlyn comes from out of nowhere, winning the Divas Championship after weeks of chasing after the title from Eve Torres. Very effective way to start promoting Kaitlyn. Just my issue lies with the fact there's been no competition for Kaitlyn. So really the only way to resolve this is get WWE Divas on the all-new NXT call-ups to Raw and SmackDown, so somewhat of a threat can start being posed to Kaitlyn and her Divas Championship reign. Something has got to be done, bottom line, to get the WWE Divas division out of this compromisable position with how phenomenal the TNA Knockouts division and divisions outside of the Divas division when it comes to professional wrestling have been looking so phenomenal. Something has got to be done to get the Divas division out of this inescapable position that it's been in ever since Kaitlyn's won the Divas Championship. And one of the biggest issues with the Divas division is resulting from all of these releases we have seen over the last year and a half. Melina, Maurice, the Bella Twins from their initial release after some unprofessionalism exemplified on their behalf. Karma, who came in and decimated in 2011. One of the biggest contributing factors to there not being much competition in the Divas division, other than what's we're being seen on NXT every week on WWE.com, is the fact that we're seeing so many releases. We have seen some of the top pure women of the wrestling industry being released over the last year and a half. Melina and Maurice were great talents, and they had a lot of experience that they could have offered to the new talent initiative Divas, but WWE realized the Divas division was becoming overloaded with a combination of experienced Divas and new talent initiative Divas, so they boot them out, and now what we're seeing is there's nobody to really pose a threat to Kaitlyn's Divas Championship reign, which is something that is desperately needed for her, because talents that can actually bring the best out of Kaitlyn will only go a long way in prolonging her reign as Divas Champion potentially, and bringing the best out of her character, which we have yet to see. A diva like Kaitlyn still has her best years ahead of her, just as AJ has her best years ahead of her. I haven't seen a diva utilize the octopus as good as what AJ has. She's one of the quickest divas you have in the ring, and what you have a potential of seeing in this match between Kaitlyn and AJ, whenever it happens, either on an edition of Raw or SmackDown in the very near future, or an up-and-coming pay-per-view, which I foresee being the following pay-per-view after Extreme Rules, which is over the limit, because you do need an additional few weeks to build up this storyline between Kaitlyn and whoever her stalker is, which is going to be very unbeneficiary after the first few weeks of it becoming public to wrestling fans. I don't see the stalker benefiting from this. I don't see Kaitlyn benefiting from this at all. If anyone benefits, it's going to be the stalker, because he will be pushed within the first few weeks. Within the first few weeks of this, it's going to be where it's going to be the most interesting, and then wrestling fans are going to be very quickly losing interest in this, and before you know it, it's going to be killed off television without anyone benefiting from it. This stalker storyline kind of puts me in mind of the Kane Kelly angle from 2009, which was derived of them presenting a Slammy Award at the Slammy Awards show a couple of years ago, and it lasted a couple of weeks before Randy Orton kind of drops Kelly, saying that he just used her for a one-night stand and nothing was really done with it. Just a couple of matches between Kane and Randy Orton, which was a feud that was very unbeneficiary back in 2008 and 2009 for everyone. And I think that's really what this thing with Kaitlyn and her stalker kind of puts me in mind of. I would much rather love to see Kaitlyn being pushed as a powerful Divas champion who was actually taking on all challengers every week. And to some wrestling fans, that may be the way that you're perceiving it. You may see Kaitlyn as someone who's knocking down every challenge that stands in front of her. And if you are one of those people, I encourage you to leave me a comment at the bottom of this YouTube video, send me a tweet on Twitter with a creative hashtag, or by joining the conversation on my Facebook page at facebook.com/HW Entertainment and posting something creative on my Facebook wall in the way of an image or a video. I'd love to see someone supporting Kaitlyn actually having some competition in the Divas division, because I just don't see it. I see AJ being the first real threat she's had since winning the Divas Championship, because you have the oppositions of Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston providing somewhat of a distraction and an advantage for AJ, because AJ's wrestling ability these days seems to be very limited, and I hate the way WWE are distributing AJ. They're having people do AJ's dirty work. They're not having AJ exemplify her wrestling ability, which is something that is very, very critical, because AJ was one of the top divas of the NXT Season 3 show. Of course, she finished within the top 3. She was one of the most skilled. All you really got to do is take a look at some of her matches with Maxine, and that will put into perspective for you how good of a talent AJ actually is. The legitimacy is the word I'm searching for here. Behind how AJ is being distributed is a far cry from what she actually is. She's one of the quickest divas of the all-new NXT. She's someone who you can have a lot of potential with and have the best years out of. I just hate how they're distributing her, and hopefully if she takes the championship from Kaitlyn, they'll be distributing her more effectively than what they have with the past number of months. Seeing her in roles as the Raw General Manager, valets to champions, has been very effective creative-wise for her character, because it's heightened the unpredictability of her character. Nobody knows when this switch that AJ has is going to be flipped. Very unpredictable character. She was one of the most unpredictable characters of 2012 and midway 2013, but because of how she was distributed as a on-screen character and as opposed to a in-ring performer, it's almost as if her wrestling abilities have become very limited, and this is not the way you want to be promoting your number one contender. You want to have your number one contender knocking off the Divas Champion, picking up a couple of wins leading up to this Divas Championship match, and kind of teasing the fact that Kaitlyn has a stalker, which they've been doing in backstage venues. But I'd much rather be seeing AJ actually wrestling with Kaitlyn on commentary in the weeks leading up to this match. Probably a couple of tag team matches where both the champion and the challenger are featured in this match on opposite teams for oppositions. I'd love to be seeing something more creative done with the Divas Division, because right now, when you talk in terms of creativeness for the Divas Division, where we're seeing the majority of the creativeness coming forth is for the all-new NXT every Wednesday on WWE.com, and we get one Divas match every week on the all-new NXT. Even though it's one Divas match with a limited creative storyline, at least it's a wrestling match that you're guaranteed to see good wrestling in, as opposed to what's being offered on Raw and SmackDown. And if you're looking for an effective way to promote Total Divas this summer, focus on what's happening on the all-new NXT and kind of forget about what's happening on Raw and SmackDown, because this rivalry between AJ and Kaitlyn, it's been done. The first rivalry was very ineffective for both characters, and hopefully it'll be more effective in the weeks to come leading up out of this match, because Kaitlyn desperately needs some competition, because if she doesn't get it, having her as Divas Champion is very unbeneficiary. Last year I predicted a very probable future for both AJ and Kaitlyn, and it seems to be very probable still. A year after I released my first few video blogs on the careers of AJ and Kaitlyn, I have written a number of columns for our column archives on this website. I have posted endless video reviews of both the careers of AJ and Kaitlyn since coming over from NXT Season 3 to editions of Raw and SmackDown. Kaitlyn was put on the back burner. She finally gets a push, and now she's finally getting a bit of competition after winning the championship for a number of months. Tamina and Oksana really weren't cutting it, and I'm hoping that this series of matches between AJ and Kaitlyn brings forth something interesting for the Divas Division, because good women's wrestling is anywhere but in the WWE these days, and the Divas Division to me is in a bit too much of a compromisable position, which it's seemingly unable to get itself out of from week to week. Where are your issues lying with women's wrestling in the WWE? You can let me know on Facebook at facebook.com/ETW Entertainment, on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke1, and on YouTube at youtube.com/Jonathan Clarke22, because I know I'm not the only wrestling fan, radio host, and columnist who is feeling very frustrated and has a lot of pent-up frustration with the Divas Division in the WWE. I know there are millions of wrestling fans out there that are feeling the same way I am about the current state of the women's division and would wish for something more productive to be happening for the Divas Division. I'm not saying that Kaitlyn isn't an effective Divas Champion, because having her as a Divas Champion is a very effective way of promoting the division, because you have a diva that has so many qualities being exemplified from week to week. She waited patiently for her opportunity to be Divas Champion. She exemplifies a lot of power and a lot of beauty, which is a fantastic combination to promoting the new talent initiative when it comes to the Divas Division. It's just Kaitlyn is not having competition to pose a threat to her Divas Championship reign. I mean, these matches Kaitlyn's been featured in are a far cry from Trish Stratus versus Lita matches for the Women's Championship back in 2003, 2004. They're a far cry from what divas like Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Ivory, Molly Holly were doing for the Divas division back when the WWE first became the WWE back in 2002. I mean, Trish Stratus versus Victoria, Trish Stratus versus Jazz, Trish Stratus versus Lita. Better matches than what we're seeing for the Divas division these days, and divas like Kaitlyn and AJ still have a long way to go before they ever reach the career status and elevation and unprecedentedness of a Trish Stratus. They have years left before they get to that point. We're a long way away from seeing the Divas division, unfortunately, from getting away from this compromisable position, and the biggest issue is the fact that Kaitlyn isn't receiving competition. A year ago, I saw a very prominent future for Kaitlyn. There still is a lot of prophecy affiliated with Kaitlyn's career and the direction of it, but promoting her the way of being Divas champion these days, the way you have been, is very ineffective, and I want to see something more prominent done for her, especially with the upcoming premiere of Total Divas each Sunday on the E-Network as part of the all-new summer lineup for the E-Network. You can go to the official website of the E-Network and WWE.com for additional information as well. Some trailers have been released on YouTube, and additional information can be found on our Facebook page and Twitter at facebook.com/HW Entertainment and on Twitter at Jonathan Clarke1. You can also download our toolbar to contribute to promoting the official website of HW Entertainment. Very frustrated over the Divas division, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to archive this video as a featured video on my YouTube channel. If you have any comments you would like to contribute, any videos or photos to back up the fact that Kaitlyn actually has been provided with some competition, you can post it for me, but honestly I don't see any competition for Kaitlyn, and that's where the majority of my frustration lies with her career and the direction of it, because right now I don't see it headed in a very probable direction. There might be a little bit of prophecy still affiliated with Kaitlyn and the direction of her career, but if you have any evidence to support the fact that Kaitlyn actually is having some competition provided ever since winning the title, because I really don't see any in the way of a photo or a video, drop them for me on my YouTube channel. Tweet me something creative with a creative hashtag at JonathanClarke1, and join the conversation on Facebook.com/HW Entertainment. So that does it for our look at Kaitlyn, how she's been provided with no competition since winning the Divas Championship. I saw very probable futures for both AJ and Kaitlyn after coming over from NXT Season 3. There is still some prophecy affiliated with both of their careers.